Thanks, everyone. Yeah, welcome to Wednesday. It's Hump Day. Good day of the week. Thank you, everyone. Today we're going to have a bit of a chat. This is like the first Fuse joint event with one of our partners, and so give us a little bit of forgiveness if we don't get it quite right. But thank you for joining with us today. We've got Andrew Bremner, who's the managing director of Sherpa Insurance. They've been our insurance partner for 7 years, 8 years now. Since we pretty much started the business, they provide us with our insurance. And we've got Tim, who's one of their insurance consultants, part of a subsidiary called Sherpa Tech. Today we're going to kind of have a bit of a chat about cybersecurity and the insurance side of things. So basically, I'll hand over to Andrew and Tim, and they can give a quick intro, and then we'll get into it.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Chuong. And it's wonderful for us to be here. So thank you very much for inviting us. So I'm Andrew Bremner. I'm the managing director of Sherpa Insurance. And just a little bit of background about me. I'm probably an accidental insurance broker. Previously, I was a chartered accountant with PwC way back when, and I spent most of my life as a management consultant, consulting to insurance companies and other financial services companies. We started Sherpa Insurance 8 years ago, and we focus on companies that turn over between about sort of 2 million and 300 million across industry. So that's a little bit about me.
Amazing. And for those that don't know Fuse, we are a IT managed services business, primarily focusing on the small, medium business space in Australia. We do managed services, so IT support for our customers. We do consultancy around security and modern work. And we also do things like procurement of hardware and software, the boring stuff, but stuff that everyone needs every day of the week. And we are based in Sydney. We're pushing on 35 staff now, and we've been in a position of seeing where the market's gone from a cybersecurity perspective over the last couple of years.
Excellent. So my name's Tim Stephinson. I'm obviously with the Sherpa Tech team. We work as part of Sherpa Insurance. Sherpa Insurance was born out of, Sherpa Tech was born out of Sherpa Insurance's fastest growing sector, which was MSP companies. And Chuong was one of the first ones 8 years ago. But we've now grown that substantially, and we're doing a lot of compliance and risk work to really help them with cyber compliance and cyber insurance, as well as professional indemnity. So we work with a lot of the IT companies that deliver the services like Fuse, but we also see the nuances on the cyber insurance market to try and feed that into the direct customers as well. So happy to be here. Thanks for having us, Chuong.
Amazing. All right, let's get into it. Where's the cybersecurity landscape at the moment? So what I'm going to do is kind of talk to you about what we're seeing. So cybercrime right now is the third largest GDP between the US and China. So behind US and China, it's huge. It's a $10.5 trillion business. And what we're seeing is every day hacks happen, and it's the biggest companies to the smallest companies, and we've all been hacked. And so what we're seeing is, what sort of data is getting exposed. So what we want to do is kind of put up a bit of a poll and ask some people some questions, some of the attendees today, around, who's had data exposed, how have they seen it. So you should see a poll pop up on your screen, and it's going to ask you to click on a button, hopefully. And we want to know, of the people on this call, who's had data exposed recently. So I'm just going to vote myself, and hopefully you'll see the vote go. And there you go, 75% so far have said that they've had data breached recently. So, 3 in every 4 persons have had data exposed, actually even more now. And so the poll is going up. So when when we see this, it tells us that no matter who you are, no matter how safe you are, there are things outside of your control. And it's interesting because, to me, the first thing I said to Andrew and co is, what are some of the claims that you're seeing these days? Does it confirm what we're seeing in the data, Andrew?
Yeah, absolutely. And that I suppose my gut feel on the poll, and the poll's really useful, is that 38% that said no, maybe they're not with Medibank. they must be with another private medical provider. So no, it's just a feature of our life now. It's just the way it is. And all our customers are concerned about it, but interesting enough, the take up on cyber insurance is actually quite low, around sort of 25% odd. And we know, Tim and I are always talking in these terms. We're saying, that first layer of protection is the most critical, which is the people, process, and technology. And really getting that technology piece is so critical to protect you in case the claim blows through that first layer of defense, and then you've got to either reach for your insurance policy, and if you don't have an insurance policy, you've got to reach for your bank account. So it's a real concern, but we of course see a lot of claims. It's a scary environment right now.
Yeah, so this kind of leads us nicely onto, it's just not a problem for the corporates. We're talking about Medibank, we're talking about Optus, but small and medium businesses are under attack every day of the week. Someone was fooled in an email or a WhatsApp to a customer, and they lost $5,000 in gift cards. I've got a real life story where we had an intern join us. In his first week, someone messaged him on LinkedIn because he had put himself on as a LinkedIn as an intern at Fuse. They impersonated me personally and asked him to go out and buy some iTunes or Apple cards. And it wasn't like a big thing, but you can imagine this intern who's met me for the first time. Next thing you know, he gets a WhatsApp from me saying, "Hey, I don't want anyone else in the company to know. I know you're new. We're going to keep this a secret between you and I." Next thing you know, he's buying, Apple gift cards. And it was only after the first purchase where he went back to me and said, "Oh, Chuong, I did the first one for you." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "Oh, this happened." And I'm like, before he even got to do his cybersecurity training as an intern, he had already been breached.
Yeah.
And that's one, right? And, another thing is, invoices getting hacked. Someone's got a password, sending it to the CFO. That's just happening every day of the week. So a third of all cyber attacks are targeted at small businesses, and 61% of small businesses were not able to operate after the attack. And the average cost to a small business is $108,000. And I don't know about you guys, but most small businesses, that's a fair chunk of their profitability gone just from a cyber attack.
Without doubt, and I couldn't agree with more. And we've had just across our customer set, so we've got about 400 odd customers. We've had 3 social engineering attacks, averaging cost of 200,000, and the social engineering is very much along the lines that Chuong you were mentioning. People trying to be impersonating someone else. And it's terrifying. And also we've had others where someone's broken into an infrastructure provider and got hold of the accounts receivable, and then send emails to the accounts receivable saying, "Hey, we've changed our banking details to this. Please pay." Again, that's a good example of a social engineering crime, and it's rampant.
What we see a lot here, Andy, as well, is the insurance market has already moved. So now the insurance market expects all of these minimum hygiene factors to be implemented before they offer a policy. So one of the things we really try to do is, before we take risk to the market, is ensure that the house is in order and ensure that there's good training, there's good people, there's good process, good technology. And that actually helps us give better pricing when it comes to placement of that insurance as well.
Yep. Great.
Yeah.
So I forgot to
Absolutely.
mention we do have Q&A today. So if anyone wants to ask any questions as we're going along, feel free to pop it in the chat, ask questions, and we're more than happy to kind of respond as we're going if it works out. Yeah. So kind of to continue on, this is the scary slide that I show people, and they just like are gobsmacked about how cheap it is. So for $250, you can hire someone to hit someone. For $66, you can get ransomware kits. For a list of compromised machines, it's between 13 cents to 89 cents. And for mobile phones, it's 82 cents to $2.78. Spearfishers for hire, $100 to $1,000 per successful account takeover. So, for instance, the Medibank hack, someone hacked it and then sold those credentials to a larger hacking outfit who then did the really big work in there. So it's that cheap. Stolen username and passwords. For 97 cents, you can get 1,000 stolen usernames and passwords. And for a denial of service attack, so that's where they can take down your website or your hosting, it's $311 a month for a concerted attack on a business. That is how cheap it is for criminals to get access or disrupt your business. So if you think that hacking is only for high-end businesses, whatever, no, it can be done anytime, anywhere, relatively cheaply.
Yeah,
so,
it's terrifying. It's terrifying, Chuong.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So many SMBs are facing a similar challenge. What customers are seeing today is they want their data to be safe. They want remote working to be normal. Cybercrime's on the rise. Regulations are tightening. Every customer now asks me for professional indemnity insurance and public liability insurance and my workers' comp. I have a feeling it's only a matter of time before they ask me for something to do with cybersecurity before I can start doing work for them. Risks are generally ignored. Cybersecurity is complex because that's why they ignore it. They're like, it's too hard. Push it down the track. There's other things I need to fix in my business. My staff want a pay rise. I can't find people. I can't grow. Cybersecurity is the least of my mind. But business disruption is inevitable, right? So in the professional services sector in Australia, 1.5 million people are employed. And, that kind of tells you within SMB, it's a huge risk. So that's what we're seeing today. And so for me to the team at Sherpa, what makes up a contract? Like how does cyber insurance help? Like it's not going to fix the cybersecurity issues, but how does it help?
Exactly. Tim, do you want me to jump in here, or should I? Sorry, or should you? I'll jump in. Yep. Okay, great. Okay, so yeah, thanks, Chuong. So what is an insurance contract? This is kind of insurance 101, but it helps to understand what you need to do as part of your contribution to get the optimal outcome for your insurance, whether it's cyber, professional indemnity, whatever it is. So there's three components that make up the contract. The first one is the proposal, and it's really critical. This is where you complete a bunch of questions and to explain your risk away to the insurer. So in many ways, we talk about this a lot. It's about mutual honesty. That you're honest about what your exposure is, and the insurer is honest about, in the case of a claim, that how how much they would pay out. So it's a really important thing to get right. The second part is the schedule, which is basically the details, the specific details of your cover provided by the insurer. And then third thing is the wording, which is sort of the detail, the definitions, the fine print, if you like. And those documents combined makes up the insurance contract. And why this is important is, particularly in the cyber space, it used to be the insurance that you could not sell. People were not interested. Now it's becoming very hard to buy, and it's become the insurance it's very, very hard to buy, or you cannot buy in some cases. And a lot of the time it's about how do you explain away your risk, because the cyber insurers have been so smashed by claims. So anyway, why don't I pause there? But that's a little bit about what makes up an insurance contract. Sorry, Tim, you probably about to
Yeah, no, I
add.
was just going to chime in there, Andy, just around the activities that appear on those contracts. So this is the one area that insurers focus in on to make sure they classify your businesses correctly. And with the changing nature of technology, a particular example is cloud services. 5 years ago, cloud services looked very different to what they look now. And the insurers need to understand that. So that's where having a great technology partner like a Fuse is really important to actually help posture your business to clearly explain the stack that exists to protect you. And we're seeing that more from the US now, where they're drilling into those products and they're wanting to understand what you actually put forward to, protect your instance in this environment.
So what you guys are telling me is, when I get this massive spreadsheet from you to fill out, and I fill it out, and I'm like, well, I'm not too sure about that, I'm just going to say yes. And then if I have a breach and what I said on that sheet actually wasn't happening, they could reject my claim.
Correct. So one of the challenges is cyber has been so smashed in terms of claims. The loss ratio last year was 120%. So what that means is, for $100 of premium, the insurers globally paid out $120 in claims.
Wow. That's a very profitable business.
So, and yeah, it's not sustainable, right? It's absolutely not sustainable. So what's happened is insurers are becoming very picky around claims, and they're looking for ways out. We call them off ramps, but they're looking for ways to wriggle out. And if you're not saying that you do, for example, it might say are you doing MFA on every platform, including socials? Are you providing cyber training to your staff? Are you providing regular updates and patches? Are you applying those? If you don't do those, and that you've said you've done so, then it gives an insurer reason to walk away, or the policy not to respond in terms of a claim. Yeah.
Amazing. All right. So what do we do about it? Yeah, look, it gets even scarier if you're a director of a business. There's kind of 6 things that you need to do that we feel is a non-negotiable. And there are ways of, they've passed some of this stuff into legislation. I think there's going to be some new stuff coming up. But, you need to, as a director, ensure the protection of the information. You need to have a cybersecurity framework, and you regularly review it. You need to assign roles and responsibilities within the organization, even if you're a small business, about what to do. Your staff have to be aware and trained. You got to review it all the time. And then you've got to make sure you've got an incident response plan if it happens. That's your responsibilities as a director. And so I think it's kind of a timely segue into, what do you think as a director of a business, you'll be held responsible for? So I think, Julian, we've got another poll that we're going to put out to people to kind of wrap their heads around it. Yeah. So how much do you think the fine will be in the new privacy update for companies that are responsible for a data breach? So this is an interesting one. It'd be interesting to see what people think, because it kind of will show us how scary it is.
This is a good question. Like this one.
I suppose, Chuong, the driver behind this as well is the PII records, the personal information records that are sitting out there. And it's really interesting. When we talk to insurers about these, it's a common area that we try to clarify as well, is who is actually responsible for the PII records. And in most instances, it is the customer that dealt with the person who took the who gave up the PII. So and this in many cases is your your customers. So the PII that they hold, they are ultimately responsible for, and they need to hold cyber policies to protect that. Your cyber policy that you hold at Fuse doesn't protect their instance of that information.
Yeah,
That's right.
That's a really important point, Tim. I'm really glad you raised it. That's a really critical point.
So we've got some results in, and it's an even split between 5 million and 50 million. So obviously, I think it's still not clear to everyone what it is. But can either of you guys tell us what it is?
Yeah, I'll jump in. Okay, so it's forecast in the 116 recommendations for changes for the Privacy Act. Currently, it's 2.1 million, but the recommendation, and it's expected to go through, will be 50 million.
50 million. That's just huge, right?
Yeah.
And so when someone comes along and says, you need to spend $1 million, say you're a big bank or a large corporate, and you need to spend $1 million on cybersecurity, you know, as a CFO, you look at your risk and you're like, what's insurance going to cost me? What's the fine going to cost me? Do I roll the dice? The question is, it's not worth it. So, you know, we got to get this stuff right. And that's kind of where it comes. Keep going.
Just to jump in there, Chuong, another point on that is the fact that while that's relevant for the big end of town, they're looking to remove the cap on the disclosure from the $3 million threshold. So it will apply to everyone, whereas currently it's only above the $3 million turnover limit. And when that gets removed, then it's a problem for anyone running a small business.
Yes, and someone Phil on the chat has asked, even for small business, there are some additional recommendations around, you know, a small business is not going to be able to handle a $50 million fine. So they've got one of the alternatives for small business will be 3 times earnings for the year, but it will be a sizable penalty. And I just want to add, really in Australia, we've been sort of behind the 8 ball compared to Europe under it's what's called GDPR regulation, the EU regulations, and the US regulations, which are different by state. But we are so far behind the rest of the world. This is around catch up. And the recommendations, the 116, you know, it's about broadening the definitions around the data that could be people are responsible for, and also broadening the penalties and the actions by the regulator.
Amazing. So what can you do? What can the people on this call do? You know, there's some simple things that can be done today. You know, multi-factor authentication being turned on. Yes, it's annoying, but you know, if you do it for your bank account, there's no reason why you shouldn't do it for personal information, which is your email address. There's software that you can buy today, endpoint protection, email protection, filters, backing up your data, permissions. You know, how many people don't know who has admin access to their environment? Updating your device. Every time your iPhone pops up and says, there's a new update, and it says now or later, and you keep hitting later, there's a reason why the updates are there. And then cyber awareness training is the last one. You know, it doesn't cost much to sign up to a cyber awareness training program that will help your staff understand how easy it is to lose data. And what will it do? It'll just basically help prevent the attacks. When there is an attack, it'll limit the impact, and it'll, you know, if it gets really bad, having a backup. You know, if someone ransomwares your data, you know what? You've got a backup. You can restore it. You don't have to pay the ransom. Yes, they've got a hold of your data, but they've got a hold of your data anyway, and you get on with it. So, you know, these are the simple things that we can do today. And what the Australian government are doing right now is they've launched this thing called Essential 8, which is basically a maturity model for cybersecurity. And what they've basically said is, you know, if you do these 8 things to a certain level of adherence, you'll get, a certain level of security. So it's level 0, basically you do nothing. Level 1, which is you've done the basics. Level 2 is you've done a pretty good job. Level 3 is, yes, you can now start dealing with defense and ATO and all the big end of town because you've got everything in place, right? So they're super important for you to understand, and it's really simple. And what we're doing around it is, helping, so insurance companies, because they're asking for the same sort of information. So what does team from Sherpa, how do you get cover? How do you get a strong posture? What insurance policies do most businesses need today?
Yeah, so most businesses, whether professional services or retail or construction or whatever, they need a bunch of insurance policies, and we've just sort of named a few on the slide. And I suppose one of the critical things with professional services in particular, of which the Fuse businesses, the Sherpa Tech business and Sherpa Insurance business are also, is the two sort of critical areas are professional indemnity, which is protecting you for bad advice or perceived bad advice, and the second one is cyber. And the rest, I'm more than happy to go into more detail as needed. But I think we'll just zoom in on these. But the cyber insurance one, just to sort of zoom in on this particular one, it really helps to build a very good case in terms of your proposal that we talked about earlier, and to show that you have a very strong technology posture. Because it really can make the difference between whether you get insurance or you don't get insurance. And I suppose that's something that we look at. There's huge variety in the cyber insurance policies that are out there. And so please ask your insurance advisor to help you navigate that piece. So include, cover for your own organization called first party, and most of the policies are very focused on that, but also third party in the case of one of your end customers making a claim against you, and also social engineering and crime, which are normally optional extras. So there's a whole bunch of things that you need your advisor to help you navigate through that piece.
We also find as well there's a lot of confusion in the market about what actually does cyber insurance do, or what does it respond to? And we sort of look at it like it's the emergency services you need when there's a cyber incident. While you may have an MSP like a Fuse who do a great job and are mitigating or living in your daily environment, in the event of a data breach, the insurer holds 24/7 support teams to jump in and actually rectify or investigate the faults. They do this because it limits their exposure. They want to get in as soon as possible and mitigate the losses. But they also then have a huge legal framework that they align to for the communications, the fines and penalties, and the general GRC requirements that are services that a Fuse or others don't traditionally offer. And so it's really important to actually see the services that Fuse offer, and what cyber insurance does as well is a very different product. We see a lot of MSPs initially being fearful of cyber insurance, thinking it's replacement for their services, but it's a huge expansion on that. And MSPs, quite often don't carry the legal and other services that you need when that breach happens. So that's why the insurance products are existing there.
Absolutely. We've seen firsthand some of our clients go through this, and the team that they bring on board in terms of PR, legals, the whole lot. We're a technology business. We can help you navigate the technical challenge, but we're not going to help your business reputation get back up to speed. We're not going to be able to make sure that you communicate to your customers about the legal requirements. We're not going to be able to submit the reports to the reporting bodies, because that's a different level of expertise. So that's where cyber insurance 100% comes to the fore.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's a bit of an unusual one. Sorry, Tim, you go.
Yep. No, it was you. It was me.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
you go.
sorry, Chuong. The cyber insurance is an unusual one because one of the things that the insurer wants to know the moment you have a breach, they want to speak to you straight away for that 24/7 response because they want to jump in and limit their exposure. And they want to control the negotiations with the regulator and the other stakeholders involved. They want to jump in. So that's one of the really compelling reasons to get that cyber insurance in place. And we would absolutely recommend people consider the cyber insurance for their businesses.
Amazing. So the last poll, we're quite interested to see of the people attending the call today, who's got a cyber security strategy in place. It's one of those things where there's no right or wrong answer. We just want to know where the market is at the moment. Have people thought about this within their organisations? We don't know who you respond, so we won't bombard you with marketing if you say no. Wow, it's 50-50 so far. Oh, it's even going the other way. So look, it's one of those things. So for us, kind of segueing into what Fuse is about. So one of the things that we've been doing over the last year and a half is we've really understood that small businesses need help around cybersecurity. It's complex. If you've got we've got some clients that we picked up in the last year and a half, and they've asked their incumbent IT or their internal IT, hey, what are we doing around cybersecurity? And someone will come back with for a 20-seat business, it's $100,000 worth of project work, and it's all care, no responsibility. You have to buy a bunch of this software. There's a lot of noise. So what we did was we basically built a managed service solution called Fuse 365. And what that does is it layers software, monitoring, managed services, and education all together in a simple package. We basically start with Microsoft, which most businesses have these days. We then layer on some products from Cirrus and Microsoft around backup and SIEM management, which is the monitoring. We use a product called Netscope and Threat Locker, which does the web filtering, and Cloud CASB, which is a bunch of technical terms, but basically it will get you to Essential 8 Level 2 compliance out of the box. And then on top of that, we do our support and our security training, where we basically use a tool. We work with your team to make sure that they have the right outcomes, and we put skin in the game. So what we do is we basically it's for the new world of working from home, working from anywhere. It's best in class, but we've implemented it and we've standardized it across our kind of stack. We eliminate the complexity, so we make sure that you don't buy two pieces of software to do the same thing. And then what we do is we wrap a cybersecurity guarantee around it. So we basically say, if you get hacked doing all the things that we've asked you to do on our watch, we see it as a partnership, then, we should have some skin in the game as well. So we will do the remediation, we will fix things, we'll give you a rebate on our services because, hey, we haven't done our job to the best of our ability. But we're that sure that the product fits the bill. That's why we do it. And, from my perspective, it's not a replacement for an insurance policy, but what it is it's a bit of peace of mind. It's like, as a business owner, you've chosen a partner who cares about your security so much that they're willing to put their name and reputation on it. And not a lot of businesses in our space do that. A lot of them have great teams, great solutions, but when it comes to kind of putting skin in the game, it's never that easy. So, from our perspective, we're quite proud of the product. We signed up some great customers over the last year and a half, and we're kind of growing quite strongly with the product. So that's what Fuse is doing from a cybersecurity perspective. All right. So how can we help you guys? the team at Sherpa Tech have kindly offered an insurance health check for you. For anyone attending this call today, basically they'll offer a free discovery meeting, a health check, and present their results. Normally, it's quite a time-intensive exercise, but we think it's important enough. So the team from Sherpa have been kind enough to offer this. And from a Fuse perspective, we're also offering a free cybersecurity check, what we call a desktop check, just to have a brief look under the hood, make sure there are no glaring issues that you have in your environment. And so both of us would like to kind of offer that service. So, we'll be doing some follow-up calls and emails to the people who attended today to see if anyone wants to take it up. But yeah, that's kind of what we're offering as part of this seminar today. So I think we're finished. We're going to hand it over to Q&A for the rest of the team. Has anyone got any questions after we've presented what we presented? It's very quiet, guys. It means that we've answered all the questions.
We've got what percentage of business actually has cyber?
25%, I think you said, wasn't it?
Yeah. In terms of, and we're actually our customer sets actually aligns with the industry average. So yeah, it's about 25%.
I suppose the changing nature there as well is we're seeing a lot of companies, if you're engaging contractors, it's something that you can request they hold as well. Because if they're managing anything in your environment, you want them to have that when they work in your instance as well. So, we're seeing it from New South Wales government. We're seeing it from a number of the larger players as well. So yeah, it does protect both parties because it's a first party cover. So if you hold it together, the insurance companies can then deal with it together.
Yeah, and just as an example is New South Wales government are actually requiring, in some cases, 20 million of cyber, which is an enormous amount, a ridiculously high sum, and often needs negotiation to reduce this because many companies will just not be able to achieve that. Yeah.
I saw a question there about who are we going to for cyber in the market. We're seeing a lot more. There was a couple of players that pulled out of the market last year, but we're seeing the market probably soften a little as it's becoming more attractive and more people starting to offer cyber. So we go to Chubb, CFC, Emergence, Jewel, Brooklyn, and we're seeing more players come in now as well.
On this one, what percentage of applications you receive would you say make their first application with sufficient cyber security in place? Oh, it varies. Tim, you've probably got a better view than me on that one.
We in some instances, and we had a Sherpa Insurance customer about a month ago that we looked at their proposal and we said, we don't think it's in your best interest to take this to the market. Right. You need to go back and talk to your teams and actually look at improving your infrastructure, because we want to take risks to the market that they feel confident in taking on. It used to be, I suppose, a number of years ago, Andy could take something to the market and they might take it in a bad security posture, but now they expect as a minimum a very strong security posture. So the first step, we actually have a checklist that we take our customers through as well, which is what are the characteristics of the business, what are the areas of data that you're holding, and then what does a good cyber policy look like? And so we're more than happy to share that as well with anyone on the call today, and it sort of helps people understand what a good policy is actually there to do. But getting your house in order is really the first step in that process.
Any further questions? Oh.
Well, we're always happy to take a LinkedIn ad by anyone on the call today as well. Or if anyone wants to reach out with any other questions, we're happy to have a chat offline or get involved wherever needed. Even if it's just a second opinion, Andy and I are available.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry guys, I'm just gonna jump in. I can see that Chuong maybe has dropped off, or is on mute now. So thank you everyone for joining, and thank you Andrew and Tim for being here today and sharing your experience.
Our pleasure.
We will definitely follow up. If anyone wants the slides or want more information, you can send us an email and we'll definitely get back to you guys. All right, I think we're good to close the session.
Wonderful.
Right.
Thanks, Julian.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Andy.